Everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today, Eric made me watch a movie I should have watched years ago. I feel really remiss on this one, Eric.
Is it the Planet of the Apes?
It is the Planet of the Apes. Finally, I've seen the Planet. No, it's a lot like the Planet of the Apes. Yes, absolutely. Today, I just got finished watching Ghost in the Shell. Obviously, this is a movie I knew things about. I knew about its influences. Things that it has influenced.
The Matrix.
I knew that it has influenced a lot of things that I like, and I saw all kinds of things in this, of course, retroactively, you know, stuff after it. But obviously also could see some things that influenced it a little bit.
Yeah.
Knowing the time it came out. But yeah, I was right at home here in some ways. I need to watch it about 15 more times as far as picking up plot things and appreciating some of the philosophy and the existential discussion and stuff. But this is required viewing, which I've always been told and kind of knew going in, but like, you know, watched the film. Yeah, it's required. Like 15 minutes in, I found myself thinking, this feels like a movie I should have watched in college. I took a science fiction course there. I've studied science fiction over the years, and I feel really remiss. Like I'm embarrassed to make this video.
But you're not an anime guy.
I'm not.
And that's the big thing.
Yeah, and
if this had been a film, you would have seen it.
Probably. But wow, that doesn't matter.
No.
Not even.
But I mean, that's why you haven't seen it. Is you're not really an anime guy.
That, and that's why I didn't see it.
And The Matrix.
Back in the 90s, certainly, and even past that, like early 2000s. But once I was a big Matrix fan, and I had friends. I had one friend in particular who didn't like The Matrix because he thought it was ripped off too much from this film. And I didn't want this movie to ruin The Matrix for me, so I never saw that, and I mean, yeah, probably goes without saying, it's a better film than The Matrix.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a better film than a lot of science fiction movies.
And
at 82 minutes.
Super entertaining, but it's on a level of its own as far as the sophistication of the material. The world it's able to build in it's in such a short amount of time. Even making these characters likable and drawing them, and you know, doing like. This is such a tough. I don't know how something like this happens. You know, 82 minutes. It's all about identity, and I feel like these are as fully realized characters as they possibly can be. It has fully realized
characters. It has big, overarching thematical and philosophical ideas.
Yeah,
and a complex plot.
And it's about, and again with the identity thing, it's about characters, or at least a couple characters in particular that, but you know, we're not gonna worry about spoilers. We never do. But like I was just sitting here.
No, everyone else has seen this.
Everyone else has seen this movie. Yeah. I just had a minute where I was like, oh, should I say? No, it's not one of those videos. We haven't done one of these in a while.
We should mention we have broken order, or your memories are wrong.
I was about to bring that up.
But we have broken order because you wanted to see this before the movie came out.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be my turn. So next time I'll show Eric something. But that's going to be related to a movie coming out. So we both have it. So this has turned into Rewind, where when we haven't made one for a while, it just turns into being front loaded with movies related to films that are coming out.
The reality is, you would have watched this anyways. Like, I have this movie. I actually bought this for this because I didn't actually own this movie. But, but you would have sat down and watched it anyway, so we might as well do a video. Like, that's really what it is. You would have watched this before the movie came out anyway.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, there was no way I was going to walk into that without having seen this. Real quick, the point I was making with identity, no problem, is by the end you have two characters who join to become a third distinct personality, and I appreciate both of them with what even little I'm able to get of them, and then by the idea that even though we don't get much time, at the end with that, and that person doesn't know what they are yet, and they're going to run off and explore and figure out who that person is. And gender gets real interesting, doesn't it? Because I guess that's a male personality and a sort of a female personality, or at least a personality in a female body.
And it's not necessarily a male personality, because it
has a male voice, but
it has a male voice, but it's entirely electronic, so it doesn't actually have gender, but it goes into a female personality, but they've always used the male pronoun, so even though it's a female body, they keep calling it he. It's real. It's distinctly a male voice cast.
And of course that's gonna... people do... calling you the male pronoun is going to affect your identity in some way. Certainly, but he seems to have kind of the puppet master. Yeah, it seems to have kind of transcended a lot of those assumptions and things.
Because he's not.
Because he's a being. He wasn't.
I was gonna say he's not human, but isn't that the question of the film?
That is the question of the film. And forgive me, because again, I've seen this one time, and I need some more time. I obviously need time to process, but also some time to go back and watch it again. And we watched this dubbed. Excuse me. We should mention we watched it subtitled. I'm a stickler for that. I like to experience the original version in as pure of a way as possible. And even though I don't know the language, I want to get those actors' original performances if I can. So obviously, I'm still not experiencing it fully 100% pure because I don't know the languge, and so I still have. It's as close as I can approximate. Yeah, there are some really interesting choices in words and stuff. Where I don't know what the direct translation is. There was one in particular that I pointed out while we were watching, where he's the being that needs to move bodies, is talking about the new abilities that he has achieved, and one of them is death, and he talks about death as an achievement. Shirking off the moral coil is something that you have, that is like, something you've managed to do that's like, something to be commended as opposed to like a terrible thing. And I just thought all that was really interesting.
It's also very Japanese. Yeah, they have a very different view of death than we do.
Sure.
It is just the suicide thing. Like, suicide is not a bad thing. It's the only way you can, in some cases, atone for dishonor is to have an honorable death. It's a whole honorable death thing.
Yeah.
So they view death differently than us. So,
and this looks at death as like a change as opposed to an ending. So the idea is you're supposed to improve yourself and not be not force yourself to be one thing all the time, and to allow that natural evolution to happen. But anyway, I want to be careful to not try to do too much actual analysis of this movie. This would be a great thing eventually to maybe attempt to tackle on a science fiction rewind. I don't know if I'm worthy of this. I don't know. So a couple things I want to throw out. Just things that hit me as I was watching it. First of all, I am incredibly trepidatious of seeing that film, of seeing that live action film now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't want it to exist. My first inclination is this shouldn't be translated into live action. I don't have that with very much, and certainly I'm open-minded to it. I didn't feel like I was watching an animated film when I watched this. There are a lot of, especially when you get to the big city stuff, and I'm not just talking about the Blade Runner inspired stuff. I'm talking about like Old City. Photorealism just looks incredible, almost as if somebody took photos and traced them
over them. Yeah.
And in some places it's almost like they just took pictures and put them there. I feel like I've already seen the live action version of this in a way, if that makes any sense. I don't know about it. I don't know how you translate this. I don't know why you translate this beyond just
it's already a visual medium
making some money. Well, and you can say that about anything that you take that's an animated. You can say that about Beauty and the Beast. They added some things to that.
Right,
I was kind of glad we had that. And a lot of people, still with those Disney movies, saying what is the point of that? Why would you remake those live action or otherwise? And I sympathize. I feel that way to a degree as well. But particularly with this, why would you make it live action and try to make it for a general audience and try to and which is going to require some watering down? I'm almost positive. We'll see what it's like, but this is not a PG-13 thing. This is a very, very adult film. Not gratuitously so. It should be. I think the visceral nature of this is really important when dealing with mortality and the fragility of the human body and even of machinery. There's a lot of talk in this about how we are not so different from machines in the first place. The DNA is a lot like coding, and so we see that when we rip apart physical, it's all physical, but when we rip apart a natural body and we rip apart a machine body, biology versus machine, and I don't know how you translate that, especially in PG-13.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know. I guess we'll talk about that when we see it. We're gonna do how we felt about it on that movie.
Yeah.
But I can't say I'm exactly excited for it. Like, I just want to watch this again.
Yeah.
And I used to worry more about remakes like that, especially from one medium to another, like drawing people's attention away from the old thing and saying, I want to watch this version because it's contemporary, because it's new. We talk a lot about films like making things more valid for a mainstream audience, so they don't want to. People don't want to necessarily read something because they have it now legitimized on film. But with something like this, sometimes what you end up with, if it's successful, is the more modern version of it, and sometimes even live action is considered, obviously in this country especially, legitimized over animation. I don't. My point is, my fear is that people will watch that, and regardless of whatever is in it, like they'll feel like it's more legitimized and it's something they can sink their teeth into because it's not a cartoon. This is not a cartoon.
No. Now, I will say, one of the reasons I don't have a huge issue with the film existing is that this is based on a manga to begin with.
Sure.
And the manga is quite different. I have it. I've never read all of it, but I've read some of it. And it's more jokey. It's a little bit lighter toned. Still with the ideas. It is the only time I've ever seen footnotes used in a comic book just to continue fleshing out the world. Like, you will see something and there will be a footnote on the side of a panel explaining what you're seeing. So it's still very thought-provoking, but it's a different tone, and it's not exactly the same story. And then there was an anime series that is also an alternate continuity, its own take on the manga, and there's a newer series. So this is material that has been adapted multiple times.
Yeah.
So
that's okay, but I don't know. I get the sense that movie is supposed to be.
It's supposed to be this.
Yeah.
It's not looking at. It's probably not looking at Standalone Complex or Rise or the manga. It is looking at this, and if you rewatch the trailer, you will see shots from this movie in that trailer.
Right, and they're using the logo in the same way.
Mm.
Like with the flashing and
yeah, and how this was not the cover for the. This should be the poster, right?
Yeah,
like this is the cover of Ghost in the Shell, and there has been a newer DVD release that I don't like. It is it's the female body that the Puppet Master inhabits. It's just like a close up on that, and I know it's not a spoiler, but that feels like a spoiler on your cover.
Sure.
And this is what the cover of Ghost in the Shell has been for as long as I've been
I'm not necessarily against a live action version. I guess I just like I'm open minded. I'm curious.
It has to work to warrant
just
it.
like with something like Beauty and the Beast, it's an interesting experiment. To try to see if that can be done effectively. But I'm just a little bit trepidatious.
It needs to justify its existence.
Yeah, and not feel like just, a money-milking thing. And I should say, like, what I was going to say earlier, I rambled on a bit, I used to worry more about people forgetting about the older thing. That doesn't tend to happen as much as I would think. We tend to kind of, generally speaking, the best version of a thing tends to win out, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's maybe an overly optimistic, view of.
No one is going to remember that RoboCop remake in 10 years, but they will go back to the original RoboCop.
Precisely, yeah, and I think it does tend. The thing is, how well a thing performs tends to matter with that. But sometimes even that, like that RoboCop movie didn't do horribly. I don't think.
No, it did all right. I think.
But it's unmemorable. It's really easy to dismiss. So I don't know. Like I don't think that's going to threaten this. Necessarily.
Well, and this is already so important.
What if it's really popular?
This and Akira are, the staples of.
Maybe there's no reason to be
the pillars
of
anime in America.
This is one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
What's done with hand-drawn animation in this is it makes you miss that in America. It makes me sad that we've abandoned it here the way we have.
Well, Japan has too. Like Japan hasn't gone all CGI, but it doesn't look like this anymore. They're all computer animation's the wrong word, but it's all digital artwork now. It's much sleeker. It's much shinier. It doesn't have the rawness that the older series is, or the older animation's did.
The level of detail here, particularly in the architecture and just machinery, it reminded me a little bit of Transformers the movie. Just in the level of detail.
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
There's two really different looking things, but we have made animation here that almost rivals that, and I just hate that we don't do that anymore. And even if they're not doing it as much anymore, we quit way before they did. Yeah,
well, and they're still doing animation, but it's just, I don't think it looks as good. I mean, I guess that's nostalgic taste, and I grew up in the 90s, and so I like 90s and 80s looking anime. Anime's look has shifted, and it's too polished now for me.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say just simplistic.
It depends on what you're looking at.
Sure.
There certainly is some that's simplistic, but I mean, we still do things that are very. Psychopaths is a real raw, and it's attempting to capture this tone. They've said that before. It's an anime that is intended to try and kind of tap into whatever this is tapping into. So it goes back to that, but it's still much sleeker than this.
It's not. I don't know. I haven't talked about anime very much because I'm not. It's not my thing. Generally speaking, I have certainly over the years watched more things that I have appreciated, but I don't know that this is a thing that immediately makes me want to rush out and look at more anime even from this period, just because I'm not even thinking about that as I'm watching it. And I know anime is not.
You're just watching a movie.
It's not a genre. It's a style. It's it's almost a location really. It comes from a place. But yeah, precisely. I mean, I'm just watching a movie. I'm just watching really traditional science fiction, which is interesting because we're looking at kind of the heyday of cyberpunk with this. So really contemporary for its day, but harkens back so hard to obviously Philip K. Dick and stuff. But yeah, clearly flipping my sign green.
I'm surprised.
I don't want to say too much about it because I don't feel qualified. I feel like I need to.
That's always been my issue with this movie. I told you just before we start recording, like I have never intended to do. I am not smart enough to talk about this movie. And this is a movie I saw it when I was like 14 or 15. I didn't get it. I thought it was boring. I went back to it a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant."
Yeah.
And I've seen it. This is maybe my 4th or 5th time seeing this movie. So it's not one I'm super familiar with. But I appreciate it. I think it's great. At some point, I will read the manga. I own it.
I would be interested in looking at what other 2 TV shows.
There is a TV show which is called Standalone Complex with 2 seasons, which people swear by, and then there is a more recent thing called Arise, which is 3 I think 40-minute movies that then culminate into an actual hour-long movie to hour and a half long movie, that kind of thing. I've heard mixed things about that. But yeah, no, I've heard the TV show is really good.
This could change if I ever look at it, especially that first one, just the way you're describing them. But right now, just after one viewing, I feel like this would be liable to go in my top 10 for science fiction films.
It's a wonderful film,
which is not surprising to anyone, I'm sure. Like this is probably just me like catching up, which is again precisely what I had with Planet of the Apes. Like, and it's funny because like Eric didn't make me watch this movie. Really, we just like we put that in the series because he had seen it and I had not. But it's much more. I need to watch this movie. I'm making myself watch it. Eric kindly bought it so we could do that.
And Planet of the Apes was like that too, where I was just like, you really need to watch Planet of the Apes. You're like, yeah, I know the ending. What could it possibly be there for me? I was like, no, man, you really need to watch that movie.
Yep, and then it did. It just the fabric of my being was altered. Much like if I downloaded someone else's consciousness into my own and allowed them to blend.
You were no longer Captain Logan, you're now Captain Logan and Planet of the Apes.
Right, Captain Logan and the Planet of the Apes, yeah. And I am the Captain Logan that is finally watched and is not remotely worthy of discussing Ghost in the Shell. But yeah, no, I will certainly spend more time with this movie. Anything else you wanted to talk about with it? I mean, there's certainly lots of other places I could go.
There's one more thing that I want to talk about, because it's a scene that you reacted to and is always emotionally resonated.
This is as overviewy as I've ever been, probably.
Yeah, but there's a scene that you reacted to and has always really emotionally resonated with me, and I don't know why, because it feels like it's a thing I've seen before, but...
It's not the 18 bendy fingers.
It's not the 18 bendy fingers, that's just you.
I was like, Eric was like, why is that of all things? Like, I'm like, because I'm imagining myself having those, and it's weird.
No, it is the guy who has a wife and daughter and then finds out he doesn't have a wife and daughter.
And that is the one thing that, beyond the aesthetic of it, reminds me of all the Matrix, because it's the only place where we're questioning reality.
Mm-hmm.
Or a character is questioning reality.
I feel like I've seen that scene before, and not necessarily before this movie, but before I saw this movie, and I feel like I've seen that scene a couple of times. Like, it's a pretty obvious science fiction idea, but I don't know if I've ever seen it as effective as this. When I think of that idea, I think of that scene.
Yeah, this is so wonderfully economical.
If you don't have...
We spend one scene with that guy, and I'm crushed when we find that out.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to show his coworker a picture of his daughter, and he's not interested. He says, "I don't like to look at we all have this to some degree.
Yeah.
I don't like to look at pictures of other people's families." And then when we finally see the picture, when we get to see it later, because they don't show it to us.
Yeah.
When we get like just such good command of narrative, right? Where it knows what to keep from us when, and then when it finally shows it to us, it's crushing, because it's just a picture of him and like a dog or something.
Yeah, it's like him with a dog.
And it turns out that he's lived in this apartment for 10 years and he never had a wife and kid. Yeah. And you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, what makes even sadder is that he has a normal life. It's not like it's not like a perfect life. It's not like he lives in his own personal utopia or something. He in his head is divorced, and his whole world is his daughter. And it's almost like the Matrix in the idea of you give people a world, a realistic world they can live in where you have problems, and it's difficult, and your mind can adjust because the argument there is we strive on conflict, so we need something to try to overcome. But it's not as obviously scary as overall like slaves to robots. And this reminded me of that idea where it's like, you know, we give him something that you believe in, that seems realistic.
Yeah.
So it's almost worse because he doesn't have a perfect life in the first place in his head.
Well, and I love that whatever they like, there are answers for things about his life where they're like, yeah, but you live alone. He's like, yeah, I moved out when we got divorced a couple months ago. And they're like, you've lived there for 10 years.
It all makes sense in his head.
Yeah. It all connects. And I don't know, that scene is so haunting. That's the kind of thing that, like, people think about, like, a lot, where it's like, hey, is any of this real? Is it like you know, how fickle memory is and things like that?
Yeah, I
find that scene haunting.
I like that idea of you can't be sure that you have a brain because you've never seen it. and things like that. Just the things.
No one's ever seen their own brain.
The things you can't. Yeah, I questioned that. I was like, really, no one.
What about people with translucent heads?
You guys are making a really good case for someone wanting a translucent skull. But yeah, obviously, all of the. What makes the thing fascinating is the question of who you are, who you will be tomorrow. If we obviously over reliance of technology is a massive thing here.
Well, how much every aspect of you builds you.
Yeah, and if you start replacing things, and obviously this is the thing we've seen in a million things before, and a million things that are inspired to some degree by this movie. But in a way, it almost like I felt at home with that stuff, but I felt like I was almost seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
because it's so expertly done.
And yeah. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No. It was the memory thing. Where she used a whole thing where she talks about like, all of this makes me who I am, and the idea of like, well, if I just took this out, like if you had a bad breakup and you took that out, does that fundamentally alter you because you're now a different person than you were? Like, it's a movie about those kinds of things.
This is why I don't want to derail, but this is why I have such a difficult time with, and we do it all the time now, with these big, broad, sweeping, like in continuity retcons, especially in comics.
Oh yeah,
but of course,
good point.
We did it in Angel too. That's why it drives me crazy. Where we take away people's memories of one particular thing, so that someone isn't known about anymore, or that somebody can keep their secret identity, like what we're doing with Daredevil right now. We did that with Connor in Angel, where everybody forgets him.
Yeah.
Okay, who are they without those experiences? And very often,
because we always just keep writing them forward.
Yeah, exactly. And it is something we deal with in Angel. It's handled a little bit better than in other things, but we ride with that for so long. Like for instance, in that show, I don't know how Wesley is still dark. Like, he's still gruff, dark Wesley.
Yeah, you're right.
But he stole the baby, and there is no baby now, so why is he like that? You know, there's... and this comes right out and articulates why that bothers me so much.
Yeah.
In a way. Because precisely if you take those things away, you're not... Like, this talks a lot about how, you are you are built of your experiences, but not just experiences, memories, and those memories. It doesn't matter if they happened or not, and memory is fickle, and you fill in the gaps and stuff. So if someone could come in and tamper with that and put in a memory that wasn't something that really happened, your body, your brain has no way of telling you that it isn't real.
Yeah, the guy with the daughter. No matter who he was before that happened to him, this is now who he is now fundamentally. It doesn't matter who he was before because he's now been altered. And that just makes him a different person. And they can't undo it. He's like, can you undo this? And they're like, no. But he doesn't even know who he was without that. He doesn't know who he was a week ago.
Yeah, and...
It's that kind of movie where you talk about things like that.
That's what's in it. That's what it's like. The scary thing about it, I guess I wasn't going to go this far into it, but I cannot help myself. I love this. I never even knew what the title of this movie was about. And it's a brilliant title.
It is, absolutely is.
The really scary thing about it for me is the idea that your brain is the most important part of you because that is where your individuality happens. We talk about that a lot in the third act, right? But it's part of the show.
It's a cybernetic brain.
Yeah, but I mean, your real original brain is part of the shell, and it is as fragile as the rest of you. And then you start asking, whether or not there is such a thing as the soul, and that I don't know. Just thinking about the idea that you might not be, that you can't really trust anything about your feeble matter, including brain matter.
This is not the original title. I don't remember if we title it this or if this is the title of the movie. I can't remember what it is, but the title for the manga is something in it's like Task Force Riot Squad or something like that. Like, it's
weird.
It's a terrible title. I think
it just sounds like a throwaway.
Yep.
Adventure comic.
I think it
or thriller.
I think it changes its name to Ghost in the Shell, or when the movie. I don't think Ghost in the Shell is Us, but it is not its original name. And when you read the comic, it starts more serialized. It's not a big. It's almost like he's building a world, and then he's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to tell this story."
I don't know if I would appreciate this as much if I knew the longer serialized version, but...
And it is not the same story, from what I understand. Salem Comics is a similar story, but it is not the same story.
I had a real experience with this. Really, really glad I saw it. And like I said, leery of seeing the live-action version, but we'll see what that's like. And, I mean, I hope it's also not the same story.
Yeah. But I'm a little wary about what the story looks like it is in the... It needs to be thought-provoking, and I'm not sure it's going to be.
Yeah, I suppose we shall see.
Yep.
Anyway, folks, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it, and we will be back with you not too long from now with another one of these. Eric and I are real close to finished with Marvel Mania, finally. We had to deal with Iron Fist, a couple of other things, so we're going to get right back to that this week and knock the rest of those out, and then we will get back to He Made Me Watch. We'll get back to a little bit of Deep Space Babylon 59, and we will
which I'm really excited to get back to.
Oh, great. Yeah, me too. And we'll get back to... more new movie reviews, because we have, I say get back to, we'll be doing more of those, because there's quite a bit of stuff coming out soon.
Yeah.
Including Warfare of the Planet of the Apes, which I'm really, really excited about. And I don't mind mentioning that is going to be the next thing.
Yeah,
that
I saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but I did not see Battle.
You haven't seen, no. No.
Dawn.
You saw... Yeah, it's Dawn, and as I always say, those titles should be flipped.
Yeah, I saw Rise of Planet of the Apes, I have not seen Dawn.
You Dawn before you Rise, I don't know what they were thinking, but that's my big gripe, though. I love those movies. But anyway, once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you, folks.